Hi guys, my name is Emma and welcome back to my channel. So I have been tagged by the lovely Olive to do the Spring Has Sprung book tag. This has been going around a little bit at the moment because it is indeed spring. We're coming towards the end of April at time of filming and the weather has suddenly got really warm and it's actually feeling more like summer outside, but apparently it's going to absolutely piss it down tomorrow with rain. So maybe that'll feel a bit more like the April showers we normally get. I will link the original tag down below as well as Olive's video, so if you want to check any of that, feel free to. Question number 1 is flowers. All the flowers we remember are blooming again. Pick a book that is a fresh take on a retelling. The book I'm going to mention for that one has been well established on my channel. I actually have an entire video dedicated to it, and that is Spindle's End by Robin McKinley. This is a retelling of the Sleeping Beauty fairy tale. Robin McKinley has a fair number of retellings in her back catalogue, and this is absolutely lovely. So rather than jumping straight to Sleeping Beauty in her tower, this tells the story of Rosie, who is the princess, but she basically gets whisked away by a couple of fairies who take care of her as she's growing up, and she doesn't know that she's a princess. And one of the things I absolutely love about this book is the female relationships within it are just so absolutely strong. It's absolutely beautiful. I think Robin McKinley has such a lovely writing style, and it's definitely a wonderful take on like a classic. Question 2 is Cadbury Mini Eggs. Obviously the superior springtime candy of choice. I agree with you there. Pick a book that you consider to be a sweet treat, and for this I'm going to go for the lovely, short and simple All My Friends Are Superheroes by Andrew Kaufman. This book was fairly popular probably about a decade ago now, give or take. So it's a novella which is looking at a world where everybody has superpowers but in like a kind of chill way, and there's this one guy who doesn't have superpowers and he is trying to get back together with his ex called the Perfectionist. And one of the things that I really love about it and what I think makes it such a sweet treat is they have a really lovely relationship that you get to see, but there's all these little vignettes about individual superheroes in this world and just how their powers interact and how their relationships kind of play off of each other, and there's just so many bits that make you just kind of go like, oh, and just like melt inside a little bit. It's really short, less than 150 pages I would guess, and is absolutely wonderful, so I would definitely recommend that one. Okay, the next one is Allergies. Seasonal allergies often make your eyes water. Pick a book that made you cry. I'm not normally a crier when it comes to books. It has to be a fairly hard-hitting one to really get me going, and that one for me was This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. I've talked again about this book on my channel numerous times before, very recently actually in a favourite memoirs video, which I will link down below, but this book just got me, like totally got me in the feels. It is the diary of a junior doctor at the time when he was working in the NHS, and then he also, because he's been out the NHS for about 5 years now, it's him going back and kind of making commentary and notations on his time in it, and there's just some absolutely horrendous emotional moments, and it's one of these books that was so light-hearted and funny, and Adam Kay has such a lovely writing style that I was literally laughing out loud when reading it. I smashed it in like one evening, and I found myself getting to the end and just the emotions were riding so high, and like I was just sitting up in bed bawling my eyes out at 1 AM having finished this thing, not being able to know how to cope with what I just read because it was so freaking good and just hit home so hard. So for me, this is the last book that's made me cry, and is one of the few books that's made me cry because I really just, the books don't often get waterworks from me, so very impressed with Adam Kay for this one. Spring cleaning, out with the old and in with the new. Pick a book to unhaul. That was actually relatively easy, despite the fact that I've done an unhaul quite recently. Not shown on my channel, but I got rid of a ton of books. But one that slipped through cracks was Magnificat by Julian May, which I only just realised now, despite it saying on the spine, this is book 3 of a trilogy. I've not read book 1 and 2. What are you doing, Emma? Why do you have book 3 on the shelf? Like, some of you out there might be saying, well, why don't you just hang on to it and read book 1 and 2 and then get to book 3? And the main reason I'm not going to do that is because this is like a sci-fi space opera, I'm pretty sure, and I don't know if I really want to commit to a full trilogy of a like giant space opera. I'm not generally great at committing to big series that have a lot of world building. It's just not something I really have the mental space for right now, and I've got so many other series on the go that the last thing I want to do is try and get into another one, especially when I know that I have book 3 waiting on my shelves as this like pressure to get to it. So this one's just going, like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to read whatever the book 1 is and that means that I'm just not going to get to book 3. The chances of this happening in the next like 5 years are almost zero. It's just going to be taking up shelf space, so it's gone. I'm sure it's lovely, Julie and May, but not for me right now. Spring break. It's the perfect time for an adventure. Pick a book involving a road trip. This is probably the hardest prompt of all of them on the list because I don't know if any of my books contain road trips. I was racking my brain and I couldn't really think of one. So we're going to go for an oldie but a goodie, an absolute classic, an all-time favourite on my channel, well established by now, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, because the characters in this aren't necessarily going on a road trip, but there is a strong element of travel. This is a dystopian fiction, but what happens to the world when basically a flu epidemic wipes out 99.9% of our population. It covers some of the time just before the flu and then like 20 years afterwards, and follows a ragtag team of characters that all end up interweaving towards the end. But the main travelling part of it is the loose main character, because it doesn't really have a main character, this kind of book. The loose main character, Kirsten, is actually part of what's called the Travelling Symphony, and they go around to all these different little like communities that have developed after this flu epidemic to perform classical music and Shakespeare. And so I guess that kind of travelling aspect was the thing that I was latching onto here. It's the only one I can think of that had a road trip. If you know of any good books that do have road trips in them, do comment on them down below, because like I think that's something that I've not really read much of, and I think it would be really interesting too. So yeah, chuck us some recommendations for road trip books, guys. I would be down for that. Mating season. It's that time of year in the animal kingdom to make some babies. Pick a book with some smutty delights. Oh, wonderful. Okay, I'm gonna actually go for 3 different authors here and pretty much say any of their work. So Anya Bast is somebody who I've mentioned on my channel before previously. She has some absolutely fantastic series and like standalone pieces. I would recommend her Elemental series and also her book The Chosen Sin, which is kind of a bit about vampires but not really. Then we have J.R.R. Ward. Is that his name? Her name? Their name? Who has the Lovers series, so it's like Lovers Awakened and all these kind of things. Again, is basically a play on the concept of vampires. Wonderful. And then we also have Lara Adrian, who has her whole series, which I can't remember again what they're called, but basically it's always to midnight, something to midnight, Taken by Midnight and Ashes to Midnight and all that kind of thing. And again, they're great, they're absolutely great. I'm big on paranormal romance for my smarts. I think it's excellent, and those are 3 authors who I would totally recommend because I think they're wicked. 7 is rainbows. I feel like spring is made of freaking rainbows. Pick a book featuring an LGBTQA+ characters. It was fairly big on BookTube, so you've probably heard of it already, but it is They Both Die at the End by Adam Silver. This is simply gorgeous as a book. It is so fun and so interesting and so heartwarming and heart-wrenching in equal measure, and basically it tells the love story between, is it Matteo and Rufus, and basically it's set in a world where people know when they're going to die because you get a phone call the day of from a company called Deathcast who let you know that you will be dead within the next 24 hours. Not in like a because we're going to kill you kind of way, because that would be really ominous and freaky. It's just for some reason we have an ability to track this and know this. This is really just a jumping off point from Adam Silver to then throw the characters Rufus and Matteo together and give a sense of like impending doom and, you know, time is precious and life is short and we need to do something now kind of thing. But I really just loved the way that the 2 characters came together. I think they were both really well done, and it was just a lovely little story. It nothing crazy special, but just really heartwarming. And the audiobook is really lovely. It's done in pretty much full cast, and the voices of Rufus and Matteo really encapsulate what makes each boy so distinctive and different, and it was an incredible way of putting across so much about a character in a voice. It worked just so well. So yeah, definitely recommend this one. Spring Awakening. Apparently this is a musical. I didn't know this, and apparently it's a musical with very dysfunctional characters. This is coming from obviously the original tag. And so basically it's pick a book that is also filled with dysfunctional characters. I don't know the musical Spring Awakening. I might have to go check out the songs after this. But for that, I'm going to pick a book that I have again already mentioned on my channel a few times, but is just so good for damaged, screwed up characters, and that is The Dinner by Herman Koch. This book gets such mixed reviews and so many people really don't like it because there is no good character in this. All of them are vile, despicable, terrible human beings who are just so willing to bend the rules, bend ethical principles, and bend the law to get ahead and protect what's their own. Like, it is so interesting, and the basic premise is it's these two couples who have met together over dinner to discuss what the trouble that their respective teenage sons have got into. The husbands of the couples are brothers, and it's just kind of a discussion about family. And there's this lovely facade of like civility and going through the motions of a proper dinner in a very upmarket restaurant, and we'll make sure we don't make a scene, and everyone and all this posturing, and it's just absolutely fantastic and vile. Like, they're all so vile. Oh, it's wonderful. The last one is In Like a Lion, Out Like a Lamb. Pick a book series that didn't get better as it progressed. Bugger, that says series and I thought it was individual book, and I did not plan for book series. I have to go back and look at my shelves. I abandoned book series so early on, and I'm so bad at continuing with them, that this is remarkably different. To be honest, I would have to say nearly all book series for me do this. Like, I don't generally read a crazy number of book series because I'm somebody, I like trilogies. I like things that have a really distinctive ending. I don't like ones that go on for like book 12 or book 15 or George R.R. Martin, I guess. Game of Thrones, it's not officially ended yet, but like by the time we got to the end of book 3, I was bored because all of my favourite characters were dead and I didn't care about any of the new guys, and I knew that they were going to die anyway, and it just felt sprawling, and like there was no end in sight. If you're going to have something like that, I feel like each individual book itself needs to be kind of one coherent piece, and then you can have like one big overarching plotline, but none of those are coherent pieces. They all leave on some crazy cliffhanger that needs something for the next thing, and I don't want to know that I'm like locked in forever. I want to know that there's going to be a resolution at the end that I think is going to be worth the payoff. And the longer you leave a series, the more likely it is that your characters are just going to become caricatures of themselves and no longer have the depth that I was originally interested in. And I feel like this is applicable not just to book series but also to TV series as well. Generally, for the most part, a TV series should not go beyond between season 3 and season 5 for me, dependent on exactly what kind of a TV series it is and what they're doing with the characters. Any more than that and it's not good. It's just not. All you're doing at that point is pandering to fans and creating just, yeah, caricatures of your characters. Like, if you think about Friends and you think about the first few seasons of that was really fun and funny and interesting, and then by the time you got to the end, every single one of those characters could be boiled down to one or two major traits, and that was it. And they became ridiculous with that. Like Joey's stupidity, he was never the book smarts kind of guy, but he became this, like him trying to learn French with Phoebe in one of the final episodes was nonsense, and it's just such a like contrast to what he was like in some of the very, very early episodes, where actually, yeah, he's a bright guy in his own right. He just isn't a bookish kind of person, and he's not down for that kind of thing. And like, this is turned into a weird rant about Friends, and I don't quite know how I ended up here, but basically I don't like long book series. I like ones that are trilogies or have a very distinctive end, or duologies, or like basically have a distinctive end point. And if you are going to continue to go further with that, then I think each one needs to be able to be treated in its own right. That was just one hell of a run. Take from that what you will. And then the final thing is Fun in the Sun, and that is basically tag your friends. I've had a flurry of new subscribers recently, so I just want to say hi to all the new faces, and if you have a channel and you are watching and you're fairly new, you are officially tagged in this. Please do it, and please definitely link down below when you've done it. To any of the people who comment really regularly on my channel, you are also tagged if you have a channel and you do this kind of thing, or just leave your answers in the comments down below, because I love hearing from you. Comments absolutely make my day. It is so lovely to be interacting with people. I hit 200 subscribers recently, and that was just absolutely insane, and I don't quite know how or when it happened, but yeah, like, thanks guys for sticking around, and it's been lovely, and I hope it continues to be lovely for however long I end up keeping this channel for. So I tag you all. Any viewer who is watching who would like to give this a go, I tag you all, because you're all amazing for watching for this far. Thank you again to Olive for tagging me. Thank you again to the creator of this tag, who I will link down below, whose name I can't remember because I'm rubbish. Have a wonderful reading week, and I will chat to you all soon. Bye guys.